Hey, it's Ted here. I'm going into the engine lab today. I got an email from a Volvo tech, and they're working on a older MEFI IV version engine, which has the IFM platform engines. And this one, I gather, in particular, is a V6 4.3 liter. And that engine has this distributor here, which I'll show you. So this is a flat top distributor, and this is a composite housing. As you can see, it's not aluminum, and it's the same thing on this 5 liter, and this is a MEFI 4, and this is an EGC platform 4.3, and these engines have the same design distributor with a cam sensor built into it as the 5 liter does. The only difference being that it is a V6 instead of a V8. One note is when you look at this V6, you can see that the distributor comes up to the back of the intake manifold. So when you look at the distributor, one side of the distributor is flat. That flat side of the distributor has to face towards the intake manifold. And the distributor kind of faces like this. If we go over to a V8, this is a 5.0 GXI, you're going to see that the intake manifold is angled slightly versus the, it's not perpendicular to the back of the engine. So in this engine, the distributor is going to be not facing like this, the flat side straight forward. It's going to be offset by, I would say, 20 to 30 degrees, which is going to change the position of the distributor when it's installed into the engine. The engines use the same distributor. The biggest difference between the two is the distributor cap. And on both of these distributors, what you're going to see on the outside, kind of hard to see in this light, is there's a mark. And that mark down here has white on it. And it's a number. And one number is on that white mark, and one number is on this white mark. So this number here is a 6, and the other number over here is an 8. So when you put the distributor in, if it's a V8, then the distributor rotor has to point towards that mark. If it's a V6, when you drop the distributor in, that has to point towards the 6. And that distributor has to be put in so the flat side faces the back side of the intake manifold. Again, a V6 is in this direction, and this V8, come around this way, and on this V8 the distributor will be offset slightly like that when you install it, and that's going to point over here to the 8 number. Now, the sensor in this distributor is just a cam sensor, and that cam sensor sends the signal pulse to the ECM to determine when a cylinder is on a firing position, and then it will start to fire the coil. So we're going to look at how do you determine what position this is in after you install it, if it's correct, because there is a little bit of play here that we can play with. So we're going to look at that as well. Okay, this is a 5.0 GXI MEFI 4. And I brought it up exactly on the timing marks here, and just to show you where the distributor is. So the distributor is in the position pretty close to the 8. I'll try and zoom in so you can kind of see where that 8 is. Okay, so there's the 8 right here. The rotor's just about to it, and we're going to start it up and check camera retard. Over on this side is the 6. So there's a 6 for a 6 cylinder, and there's an 8 for this cylinder. So when you're going to put the distributor back in, you need to rotate the rotor back about, from what the book says, about 42 degrees, and then it drops in and just about faces that 8. Now on the V8s here, the intake, you have just a little bit of play, so you can rotate the distributor a little bit when we're on camera retard. So we're going to look at that. It's supposed to be 42 degrees in the book. Same thing on a V6, 42 degrees. And I'm not sure, but I'm going to see if on this distributor that I have marked V6, that these two marks down here, when they're lined up, you have this dot and you have that line. And with this particular distributor, when those two are lined up, if we look at the rotor is pointing here, okay? And then when you install it, it will turn clockwise to that number 6. So in the book, it'll tell you that you're supposed to line those lines up. I do have a distributor that this piece is broken from here. It's separate. So the lines really at that point, you can't line up the lines anymore. All right, I got the V6 here, and this is not a MEFI. This is an EGC engine. So the timing's a little different. We've got that 90-pin processor, but the distributor installation, I believe, is identical to MEFI. You can see that 6 is right there, I believe. Yep. All right, so there's the 6, and there's the rotor just about right on it. And camera retard on these, I think, is -4 to -7 degrees for a V6. I have to look in the book. The book for the MEFI IV engines for both V6 and V8, so 4.35057, is 42 degrees. I don't have a V6 here, so I can't verify that, but 42 degrees is the target. Service literature says 45 plus or minus 5 degrees, but I like to try to hit it on 42. So we're gonna actually put these back together, fire them up, and hook up the scan tool and see what we see. So hopefully that helps you figure out how to reinstall the distributor on a IFM platform engine.